Pastor Jenkins in the Baptismal Wetsuit Misadventure, made possible by J.W. Wallis. Now, folks, this here's a true story, or at least it's true enough for good church fellowship. Names have been changed to protect the innocent. It was a bright but brittle Saturday morning in mid-January, the kind of cold that makes the dog walk funny and the birds look offended. Most folks were inside keeping warm, but Pastor Harold Jenkins was not most folks. He was in the backyard, staring down at his swimming pool like it was Goliath, and he was David with a patch kit. There it was, a small but persistent leak, bubbling up from the deep end. And once Pastor Jenkins saw a problem, he couldn't rest until it was fixed. "It's just a little hole," his wife Martha had said, standing at the window with a cup of coffee and a look that suggested he was about to do something unwise. "Wait till spring, Harold. Nobody's going swimming in January." But no. The good pastor had been meditating all week on the verse from Proverbs that said, "Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might." And by George, his hand had found a roll of pool patch tape. So he dug out his old baptismal rubber suit, the one he used back in his river baptizing days before the church built an indoor baptistry. The suit was thick, waterproof, and just a little snugger than it used to be, but he tugged it on anyway with the determination of a man on a holy mission. He zipped it tight, adjusted the hood, grabbed his tools, and proudly announced to no one in particular, "Time to stop this leak." He climbed into that pool, one cautious step at a time. The first foot of water was shockingly cold, but he pressed on. After all, he'd baptized folks in colder water, though, come to think of it, he usually wore waders in a choir robe for that. When he reached the bottom, he knelt down to inspect the liner. That's when things went south. Somewhere between stretching, leaning, and scooting around on his knees, he forgot one important thing. He hadn't fastened the neck seal on the suit. The moment he bent forward, a gush of freezing water shot straight down the front like divine retribution from the Arctic. "Sweet mercy," he hollered, straightening up like a startled goose. The rubber suit ballooned out instantly, filling with cold water that sloshed and swirled in all directions. His arms puffed out, his legs felt like anchors, and every step sounded like a waterbed exploding in slow motion. He tried to climb the ladder, but the weight of the water nearly pulled him back under. He flopped against the pool wall, sputtering, half frozen, half inflated, and 100% regretting his life choices. Meanwhile, inside the warm kitchen, Martha happened to glance out the window just in time to see her husband wrestling what looked like a giant black walrus in their pool. She grabbed her coat and rushed out. "Harold Jenkins, what on earth are you doing?" "I'm trying to patch the liner," he wheezed between shivers. "I forgot to fasten the collar." Martha clapped a hand over her mouth, torn between concern and laughter. "You're going to freeze to death out here. Get out of that thing." "I'm trying, but if I go in the house like this, I'll flood the whole place." He was right. The suit was so full of water he looked like he was carrying a small aquarium. Desperate times called for desperate measures. Pastor Jenkins waddled toward the shallow end, opened the drain zipper just enough to let the water escape, and started spinning around in circles, sending geysers shooting in every direction like a leaky sprinkler. By now the neighbors had begun to take notice. Mrs. Patterson next door peeked over her fence, phone in hand, whispering, "Mildred, I think the preacher's performing some kind of baptismal drill." Pastor Jenkins knew he had to end this before it became Sunday's gossip. So, once most of the water drained, he peeled off the suit behind a row of hedges. Teeth chattering, dignity dripping away with the last few gallons, he darted into the garage wearing nothing but his frozen long johns and a prayer that nobody had called the police. 5 minutes later, wrapped in a towel and humility, he stood by the heater sipping hot cocoa while Martha shook her head. "You could have waited until April," she said. "Could have," he admitted, "but then it wouldn't be a testimony." Later that week at Wednesday night prayer meeting, someone asked him if the pool leak was fixed. "Yes, it is," he said, grinning. "But next time I'm calling a plumber or waiting for the rapture, whichever comes first." From that day on, folks in town affectionately referred to the whole episode as the Great Baptismal Pool Incident. The deacons even offered to frame his rubber suit as a reminder that some jobs are best left for warmer weather. And every winter since, whenever a cold wind blows, Martha pats his arm and says with a smirk, "Harold, keep your feet dry and your collar sealed.